What family tradition did you realize was actually illegal? Every summer, my family held treasure hunt weekend at my grandfather's lake house. Dozens of relatives would gather for what I thought was an elaborate scavenger hunt with prizes. It wasn't until I brought my law school roommate one year that I learned we'd been committing federal crimes since the 1960s. The tradition started with Grandpa finding an old metal detector on sale. He'd take us kids to the beach, and we'd dig up bottle caps and occasionally quarters. But Grandpa had bigger ambitions. He started researching promising locations and turned it into a competitive family event. Each team got GPS coordinates and cryptic clues. Where ironbirds once rested meant an old airfield. The mayor's forgotten garden was an abandoned estate. We'd race to locations, metal detect, dig, and collect our treasures. Winning team got Grandma's pie and bragging rights. At age 10, I didn't question why we always went at night, or why Grandpa insisted on detection permits that he'd print himself, or why we had to promise never to tell anyone at school about our fun family tradition. My cousin Tommy found the first real treasure when I was 13, a coffee can full of silver dollars buried behind an old church. Grandpa was ecstatic, said Tommy had the gift. The coins were divided among the team, and Grandpa reminded us about the family rule. Treasures stay in the family. By high school, I started noticing odd things. Uncle Pete always had maps of historical sites. Aunt Donna knew exactly which properties were bank-owned or in probate. Grandpa had a police scanner and would cancel hunts if there was too much chatter, but it was normalized. Other families played football. We illegally excavated protected lands. The weekend I brought my roommate Kendra. She was a third-year law student specializing in cultural property law. She was excited about meeting my quirky family until Grandpa handed out that year's coordinates. Wait, she said, reading the clue. This is pointing to the old Henderson battlefield. That's a protected historical site. Grandpa winked. Only protected if they catch you. Kendra went pale as the family laughed. That night, she watched in horror as my relatives, dressed in dark clothes, drove to various locations with shovels and metal detectors. She stayed back with me and the pregnant cousins. Your family is violating the Archaeological Resources Protection Act, she whispered. That's federal. They could get 5 years in prison per artifact. I laughed, thinking she was overreacting. Then she pulled up the laws on her phone. Digging on historical sites without permits, illegal. Removing artifacts from state parks, illegal. Metal detecting in national forests, illegal. Everything we did was illegal. But we're just finding old coins and stuff, I protested. Your cousin found Spanish doubloons last year, right? Those are protected cultural artifacts. Your uncle's Civil War button collection, illegally obtained from protected battlefields. This is serious. The family returned at 3 a.m., victorious. Cousin Marie's team had found an old strongbox with Confederate money. Grandpa appraised it at potentially thousands of dollars. Kendra looked like she might faint. The next morning, Kendra insisted on speaking to my family. She laid out every law we'd been breaking, the penalties, the fact that Grandpa had turned us all into a crime syndicate specializing in archaeological theft. Grandpa's response, we're not stealing. We're preserving family history. By illegally excavating protected sites? Kendra asked. By finding things that would otherwise stay buried forever, he countered. That's when Uncle Pete made it worse. He pulled out a ledger showing every find since 1962, locations, estimated values, and who had kept what. It was evidence of 6 decades of federal crimes. Kendra looked at the ledger, did quick math, and announced, based on this, your family has illegally removed over $400,000 in historical artifacts. That's not counting the damage to archaeological sites. The room went silent. Then Grandpa laughed. Well, we better not get caught then. I thought Kendra would report us immediately, but she didn't. Instead, she negotiated a deal with Grandpa. The family would stop the illegal hunts and anonymously donate the most significant historical pieces to museums. In exchange, she wouldn't report decades of crimes. Grandpa agreed, mostly because he was 93 and tired of midnight excursions. The family was split. Some relieved, others angry about losing their heritage. We still have treasure hunt weekend, but now it's actual legal treasure hunts in designated areas with proper permits. It's less exciting, but significantly less likely to end in federal prison. Last month, a museum unveiled a new Civil War exhibit featuring anonymous donations. I recognized Uncle Pete's button collection and Aunt Donna's cavalry sword. The placard thanked the generous unknown benefactors who preserved these important historical artifacts. Grandpa attended the opening, studying his former treasures behind glass. Still think they look better in my den? He muttered. Better than you looking at them through prison bars, Kendra replied. She'd married my cousin and become the family's unofficial legal counsel. The metal detector now sits in Grandpa's garage, retired. Sometimes I catch him looking at it wistfully, probably planning one last illegal dig.